Carol Martine here, welcoming you back to my studio. Today, we are going to work on a spread in the Secret Lives of Princesses. We're going to be repurposing or altering this book just to make ourselves happy. The first altering job, I've chosen the Eco Princess. Before I turned on the recorder, I used a little masking liquid frisket and a very cheapo little paintbrush, and I covered the words, "A tree is a house full of possibilities." I covered the sentence, "She ties up her beautiful hair with vines and from trees. It is a very elegant look." I also covered her face, neck, earrings, and the top of her dress. That was all and that I covered, and I believe we are about ready to try to see about how we can work gesso in a new and interesting way. Before I begin on this side, I'm going to work on this side with my Liquitex gesso. And my sponge. And I'm going to see if we can lightly work this gesso over this picture, but not so strongly or deeply as to mask everything that we find on our page. Yet, no idea where I'm going. However, I'm going forcefully, and as you can see, with speed. I'm going to not worry about our princess because hopefully when we rub over her at the end of our spread, she will pop through more or less using the white gesso because I'm going to play a little bit with the gesso and see what we can do with various shades and depths of white upon white. I'm just going to go over the center fold just a little bit, because I'm not too sure what we're going to do over here yet. So, alrighty. More gesso. And this handy-dandy little brayer that I found at, I believe, Tuesday morning, on sale, of course. Let's see what happens now. When we brayer this page. Ah, nice. Isn't it nice not to have any idea what our outcome will be? The Adventures of Art Journaling. It's really wonderful, isn't it, the way we can make ourselves happy with things that other people might think are rather mundane, and they probably are, but oh Lord, isn't it fun? Busy, but not too busy. Maybe a little bit more. Let's see. Sometimes less is more, but sometimes less is boring. So I'm going to dry this off a bit. Now, I have another gesso that I haven't played with at all yet, so I'm going to get it, and we're going to experiment with something else. Be right back. I have just opened my new super heavyweight gesso. And goodness, yes, look at it. It almost reminds me of modeling paste or light molding paste. Let's see what happens with this oblong stencil. Here we go. Wish me luck. I'm trying not to overdo, yet manage to fill in the areas on the stencil. It's fun that this book is such a large one because I get to play with my big toys. I'm going to feel like the little girl who comes down early for Christmas because she can't wait to see what her new toys are. Can't wait to see what we have on the other side of the stencil. But if we don't like it, we're just going to use this magic baby wipe and make it all go away. Let's try. Oh goodness, I think I'm a little bit scared. Neat. Very, very neat. Where am I going to put this puppy to keep it out of trouble? Right there. Now, let me get this lifted. Yeah, that little tap of my finger into it just added texture. Righty. Oh my, it made that feel a little bit heavy. Interesting. And maybe, since we talked about trees and we have some trees in the original book, and because I can't get enough of this heavy gesso, we're going to have a little tree action over here. Not so much though as to come down on the princess. Oh my. Maybe not the heavy, because it might take away from this effect. And I do think that's got a lot of fun potential. So, let's go back to our sponge. And let's go old school on this leaf stencil. Now, and the last one. I think so. Yes. Now let's think about this other page. I've had this tree stencil since I first started to learn to love art journaling, and I'm just wondering if that might not do the trick over here. But am I going to want to let this show? Yes, for the time being. Yes, let's. Yes, let's. All right. This is going to be quite the tree, isn't it? wonder if we're going to be using our baby wipe this time. Am I the princess's tree? Well, I think I'm going to have to stop now and think about working my way out of the corner that I've painted myself into and letting this dry naturally, particularly this super heavyweight gesso. I'll be back. I'm back for our next chapter on this spread. I want to share with you some of the things that I did last night. I did some shading on the tree, and I did some sky effect up here at the top. For the sky effect, I used Golden Titan Buff and my very absolute new favorite Folk Arts Baby Blue number 442. I just love that little touch of gray that you find in this shade of blue. All I did was dab it on with my handy dandy sponge stick. I then decided that we needed a little bit more contrast on the tree, so I used my wonderful Stabilo All in brown, number 8045, and my water brush. In order to get this effect, which of course I was not exactly sure what we were going to have as an effect on this still somewhat shiny paper, but knowing that the Stabilo All will write on anything, I decided to give it a try. So I'll give you a quick demo now. I took my pencil and rubbed it vigorously in an area on a branch, and wet the pencil, the brownness, and encouraged it to move. I then wasn't sure because basically we have a wet area on the shiny paper, so I just let it dry on its own, air dry, and this is the effect that we got. I believe that I'm quite tickled with the strength of the Stabilo after the water has evaporated. It leaves a nice bit of color to give the tree some reality. As you can see, now, when you look at it from an angle, you see areas of water, but time will cure that. So that is how I achieved that on the bottom, particularly of the tree. I was doing it up here at the top, and I decided that it wasn't necessary. I also extended the stencil area a little bit over onto this side just by using my Stabilo All pencil and some water. Now this morning I'm going to be working on this area and these heavy gesso stenciled flowers. I think I'm going to start here. And in order to do that, I'm going to reapply my stencil as best I can. There we go. And my 15 or 20-year-old Joe Sonia rich gold paint. I have one or two of these tubes in my stash, but I don't seem to be able to get to the bottom of this first one. It's a particularly nice shade of gold. It's not too garish, it's not too dark. It's quite attractive, and heavens knows I have been using it for everything for years. Since this is a princess, I decided that she just needed a little bit of bling somewhere. So here it comes. I want to have a little bit of a mottled effect, because after all, these are supposed to be leaves in a leaf motif, so I thought it might be nice not to make them totally flat looking, so I'm going to make them a little bit darker down at the bottom and work my way up the leaf. All right, 3 more. Let's do this one first because it's close to the binding in the book and a little bit more difficult to keep the stencil well placed. If I'm not satisfied, when I pull this stencil, we can have a redo on this. Ah, yes. Yes. Very good. And now, I'm going to move on to these dimensional flowers. I'm going to reapply this stencil. There it is. Just to make the painting of these flowers a little bit easier. All right. this on here to hold it, and I'm going to show you the colors that I have taken out. 2 shades of green for the leaves, golden green gold, and my standby Wedgwood green, Ceramcoat white, Ceramcoat salmon and OJ, buttercream and sunshine, fuchsia and pretty pink, GP purple and pansy, now the trick is to do this job without having it become too strong. I plan to make this top flower violet. Let's do the inner part of each petal. Here again, if we decide that, but yuck, I don't like this, we'll pile a little bit more gesso on here. Shall we peek? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm thinking that the dark needs to be a little bit darker. Now I'd also decided that I was going to do this one in violet. Of course, well, I've learned something. My first, so let's plunge here. Get a little more contrast. Takes care of violet. Now we're going to do yellow and white up here. This yellow is a bit strong, but we'll have to wait and see what happens as we work further on our altered page. And down here. Now this one. I've realized we have this, and I'm deciding how obsessive I'm going to be about worrying about that. We'll see what happens. Last but not least, that big puppy in the middle. Here we go. Whoops. One of my paintbrush is trying to tell me something. It keeps wanting to go for that lighter shade. Now I'm going to have a happy paintbrush because we're going to do that light pink. I have absolutely no idea whether I'm going to be happy with this, whether it's going to be painted over, or whether we'll decide that we have a keeper. Okay, I can't stand it. Truth to tell, here we go. these paints will not be wasted. I have my Thurber book that is almost in crumble stage. See, I'm talking rather than do this because I have no idea what I'm going to see. Lord, I wish you could all tell me immediately what you think. We'll see. Maybe yes, maybe not so much. I'm wondering if it might not be too much color, but this tree is strong and dark. It might just work. I'm wondering if what I don't need to see now is the Eco Princess. I know I took out my little, there it is, my Frisket remover. I'm going to start over here. Let's zoom in so that you can see what I'm doing. Here we are. A tree is full of possibilities. And she ties up her beautiful hair with vines from trees. It is a very elegant look. Nice. Now for the princess. I believe she's hiding right under here. There she is. She has a rather elaborate necklace which starts under her chin, goes down over her shoulders, and then we have her clothing. And little tendrils of hair. Well, I do think it gives us more perspective on the page. I'm quite happy with this. I'm thinking they need to be connected in some way so that they can be hanging. I don't know what's happening here yet. We have this area. We have her wrap. I'm going to think some more about this. I'll be back.